Hey guys, make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on for more Team Wars content. Welcome everyone to the first segment within Team Wars Talks, the weekly podcast that we host here on YouTube, me and Radlop. For this part of the Team Wars Talks, we have Kizuki Reborn, and we are joined here today by ASAP, Gold, as well as your bro Michael. Say hello guys.
What's up, YouTube?
So,
Hey,
dude,
how's it going? Yeah, how's it going?
And so let's get right into it. So it has been week 6 in the previous week, and Kizuki Reborn has had Switcheroo as an opponent, and we can see right here on the screen the match report for that. So 9-10, and Switcheroo is quite the scary team. Maybe perhaps you, Gold, can answer this question. So, what did you expect out of Switcheroo, and how did you prepare accordingly for them for this match?
Well, Switcheroo is a scary team, and they can play a lot of decks. So we weren't positive what they were going to bring. That was kind of the reasoning behind bringing so many Harpies. In our testing, Harpies seemed to just be the best deck, and there was very limited counters for them. I think the most common one people are using now is Luna Lights, and people usually aren't bringing more than one. So, we thought that, bringing the best deck would give us the best chance to win no matter what they brought, because it is the best deck for a reason. It's going to beat most of the rogue strategies or most of the lesser decks if you bring enough of them. So I think we ended up bringing like 4 or 5 of them. And the only insight we did have was actually, since we have a fair amount of Asian players on our team, we were able to grab some videos of Switcheroo's gameplay from other leagues. It wasn't in English, but we could at least watch the games, and we could kind of see what they kind of brought from that week, and that kind of gave us a basis. Although they did kind of use the decks we thought were also good, so that was kind of how we ended up preparing for the week.
All right, sounds good. Maybe someone else can have another word at this preparation phase.
Yeah. So another thing as well is like with it being like the new ban list. What Gold mentioned about the clip from the other event, I guess, or the other league. That was pretty much our only insight as to like what they would bring with the meta nuke, I guess. And yeah, for the most part, like you said, it did seem like they were gonna bring a lot of like the same decks that we thought were good. So that made it kind of like a bit of a flipping some coins with our lineups, I guess.
Right, yeah. And we can see maybe they also use some of the decks that perhaps were hit a lot more coming into this new meta. We are seeing, for example, 2 Thunder Dragons, or rather 3 Thunder Dragons, 2 Allured and 1 Destiny Draw. And while it did manage to get 4 wins total, maybe it wasn't the most expected deck that you probably expected out of them, right?
Yeah, I mean it was so they are an Asian team, and Asians are well known for loving Thunder Dragons, and we actually had some scrimmages where Thunder Dragons did streak. They were internal, but we knew Thunder Dragons was a possibility. That is kind of why we brought multiple Gaia, to try to counteract the possibility of them bringing it, but we didn't really expect 3.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I can see, for example, you brought 2 Gaia and a lot of Harpies, but also Fire King, Lunalight, Blue Eyes. Maybe just some thoughts about the Blue Eyes pick. What do you think it performs best against?
So, I mean, my personal opinion of Blue Eyes is that the good news is that it can counter everything. The bad news is that that includes itself. I think that if you open a good enough hand, it's going to beat anything. It's just a high roll deck. I don't think it. I don't think it really counters much of anything. It's just if you open Sage and 1 or 2 cards of Consonance, you're probably going to win that game. And we really just chose it because Sachi liked it, and Sachi was sacking the hell out of me in practice.
Right, that sounds pretty good. And speaking of Sachi, well, he did manage towards the end to utilize Blue Eyes at least to some degree of success, going 1-1. but
Yeah.
Harpies 3-0 at the end, managing to grab the win. That's very good for you guys. So we can move on to the meta analysis in this instance. We didn't have obviously the most new decks coming into this new meta. It's mostly what people have already been acquainted with, but we do see Melodious making an appearance for the first time ever, and with that also some older decks return, such as Water, such as Fire King. We haven't seen much of that. Trimid, Witchcrafter. So my question would be, if you tested Melodious within your internal scrims or perhaps with other teams, just some thoughts about the deck. What do you think is its place right now currently?
Mike's probably played a little bit more than me, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a really solid deck, and it does seem to have like some solid matchups across the board. So I would expect it to be kind of heavily played in these upcoming weeks, probably this next week especially. I would expect several other teams to like at least bring one, maybe even two.
Yeah, I
Right.
think it also might give rise to some new kind of more decks that haven't been used yet that kind of can counter Melodious. Because there are some decks that I know some other teams I've heard of also believe that counter it that we have not seen very much of. Decks like maybe, I don't know, some people think Witchcrafter counters it, some people think Yosenju might do okay against it.
Yeah,
but
like
yeah.
Yosenju, Witchcrafter, Ritual Beast. I think those are like the main three, like kind of rogue strategies that would probably be like used as counters, so you could see.
Right, yeah, we can for sure see that in the upcoming week and maybe actually upcoming weeks. Maybe another question about this particular meta-analysis, maybe to you, ASAP. So we can see Lunalight being the fourth most used deck. I believe this is the highest usage it has seen thus far within Team Wars, at least in recent history. And to tie it up with the Melodious talk, what do you think about the matchup in regards to Lunalight against Melodious?
Well, I think Lunalight has to pray that there's no score in hand for Melodious, or they could XYZ in like Tiger King or Spider. It's heavily Melodious favored. Is that a question?
It's just a little more insight about what we expect out of Melodious coming into the next week, because yeah, we have seen it having a pretty good win rate overall, but it's only 25 representations, and it's also only.
It's very new. Like, we didn't see any in our game because we were, I think, the third game of the week, and it just popped up all Sunday. Like, every team brought it Sunday.
Right.
Yeah, we finished our farming for it probably like right before our game, so we didn't have a ton of testing with it, but like they said, I think it'll be played because that fusion will just auto win against a decent number of more rogue decks. I mean, I think the stronger decks like Harpy are not gonna, they don't auto lose to it, but I mean, it's kind of nice to just take a free win and then go from there. I mean, I think those types of decks are really strong in Team Wars. I think that's kind of why people use Lunalights, even if it just gets one win. It's going to at least do its job, probably.
Yeah, for sure. We can probably take a look at Melodious as that kind of deck where it does its job, where it's meant to counter, it can counter successfully, just like Lunalight. And
it definitely has a spot in Team Wars.
For sure.
Yeah, it's, if anything, it might even make Harpies even more play, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it might happen that way.
Yeah, could certainly be when people just pair Harpies with another deck, be it Harpies as their first or as their second. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see, because it did see quite a bit of success this week. And with that, we can segue into the next topic, which would be about the division. So, you guys started 0-3, which wasn't the best start for you. However, in weeks 4 to 6, you did manage to get 3 wins, including against this one against Switcheroo, which currently sits towards the top, 4-2, number 2 ranked team. You are currently number 4 within the division and are about to face number 6, which is Toon Squad. Toon Squad has had a pretty rough season, getting very close to winning matches, but not getting quite there. 2-4, as you can see, may be a less attractive record, but they do have 0 RD, which means that they have lost their games very closely. And you guys are in the same position as well. You're also with 0 RD, but 3-3 is certainly a more attractive record. And you're about to face them. Have you done some preparation, some testing thus far, or intend to, for this match?
Yeah, we have. Recently we've really been focused on Melodious. Sorry, sometimes I have trouble saying that name, but yeah, Melodious. We've been focused on that just because we did so much preparation for Switcheroo. I feel we have a decent understanding of the post banlist decks just because of how heavily we worked last week. Although it might shift a little bit, like you kind of mentioned with Melodious entering. So we're trying to just test. That's most of the testing that we have been doing. I mean, it is just Tuesday, so we still have some ways to go to kind of determine, like, who's going to play and what decks we're going to bring. But
Right.
Melodious is a center point for sure.
Yeah, definitely the deck to watch for this upcoming week. And
Yeah, I don't know if Mike
sorry,
or
go
Ace
on.
have anything. I don't know if Mike or Ace have anything to add about their testing.
I mean, one thing is we're not like too sure on what Toon Squad will bring, I guess. So I mean, we are just kind of testing many matchups as opposed to like expecting few really expected decks. I mean, obviously apart from like Harpies or like the standard stuff, but
right.
yeah.
And I'm sure you don't want to also reveal too much about how about what you exactly expect out of Toon Squad, because they're probably just gonna watch this interview and accommodate for that. So it's best to keep your strategy secret.
Nah, we're gonna play like Magnets, Dino.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, just a bunch of the good decks, like Penn's best deck after all,
Yeah, for
True,
sure.
true.
And
Yeah.
could be a good segue maybe into the last topic with the Arc V New World. We did cover this as well last week, but we only had a first look at it and just a couple of cool decks to look at. And now that the week is over, maybe we can expect some more. So you did speak a bit about Melodious thus far, and not so much maybe about the pendulum decks, which can include Yosenjus. Do you think Harpies is the biggest detriment to Yosenjus, at least? Nonetheless, the pendulum decks.
I mean, personally for me, I think Harpies are obviously an issue. Just popping your scales is quite annoying, but I think it's more so like the lack of a good turn one. That's like really quite an issue. I don't know. You have to make like a defensive exceed usually, or you have to run like supplemental skills like grit or something. Because like, I don't know, it's just like not defensive enough at the moment to realistically expect to do well when it goes first. And then Yosenju is opposed as like kind of just better in its old variant as opposed to the pendulum version.
I think having to open multiple cards to kind of make an aggressive play is inherently weakening pendulums. So we'll see how it goes in the future. I don't know how strong they are now, just because like what Mike said, the turn one is kind of iffy, and even going second, you got to open multiple cards to kind of spam the field. You got to kind of open 2 cards just to do anything.
Right, yeah. I mean, the only successful pendulum decks we have seen thus far basically abuse a normal summoning or special summoning engine with a rank 4, into rank 4s rather. So Gadgets, Stratos, and Star Seraph, that's kind of it. And only Gadgets, I believe, have seen competitive success. So it's gonna take a little more to for pendulum decks to take a ride. And
Yeah.
maybe Yusenju's as well, as you mentioned, the old variant is probably just a bit better because they still have the hand traps. They still have either the Destiny Draw skill or the new Draw a Yosenju card skill.
Training ground.
Right.
Yeah, the Yosen training ground. Yep.
And there's also a lot of skills for Yosenjus to use if need be. There's the counter trap as well. So curious to see if we're gonna see a successful Yosenju build within Team Wars. And
There's something spicy, just no one made it yet.
for sure, maybe you guys can check that out within your future testing. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever used spicy and Yosenju in the same sentence, but I guess there could be some crazy things going on soon. Who knows?
Yeah, there's a first time for everything.
Yep.
And with that, maybe the interview can conclude. So if you guys have any last words or shoutouts, go ahead and do them.
I'll shout out Sachi for arguably saving our season and streaking at the end to beat Switcheroo. And really, I want to shout out everyone on KR. They've done a great job, especially with the bad start that we've had. Kind of just taking it week by week after a couple bad weeks in a row. It was really tough, and them just doing one day at a time has really been great. And with us being an international team, we've got a lot of different countries. It's been really important to stay together through just an awful 0-3 start.
Shout out ASAP for hopping in here, and yeah, shout out the rest of KR as well. A lot of them go out of the way to test with us and stuff, which is nice. Everyone kind of does their part, which is good to see.
Great.
Yeah, shout out to everyone. You know who you are.
Everyone surely has to be thankful for the shout out.
Yeah.
And
You know.
yeah, I guess that will be it for this segment where we interviewed ASAP, Gold, and Mike from Kizuki Reborn. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Hello everyone and welcome to the Uchihas part of this Team Wars Talks. We have along with us, we have Diadema, Urushihara, and the interpreter for this segment of Gaibasis. Say hello guys.
Guys, I'm urushihara from Uchihas roster. I'm a player only.
Hello guys, Diadema from Uchihas.
Hello guys, I'm Gaibasis, but you can call me Gaiba. I'm streamer and I'm here as interpreter for Uchihas.
Alright, sounds good. So in this segment we will be talking a bit about how the match went in week 6 for Uchihas, as well as some more insights, be it in the match or some other topics such as the division, power rankings, and the meta analysis. So to start off, we will have the match report up on the screen. Uchihas, a very good team coming into this new season, and they were up against Chicks with Dex, who I believe currently sits towards the bottom 4 within the division. 10-7 win is certainly very good, and both of the players who are present with us today have participated in the match. However, my question would be, how did you prepare for Chicks with Dex for this week?
Quer saber como vocês se prepararam para jogar contra a Chicks with Dex nesse último fim de semana?
Bem, normalmente a gente vai sempre analisando os reportes dos adversários. Essa em específico a gente teve que analisar os nossos reportes também e o deles. Por conta que normalmente a gente estava tomando muito snipe de Luna Light, coisas tipo, igual aconteceu na Week contra a Cal Clan. Que a gente perdeu literalmente por conta das lunas.
Okay, nice. Basically, on this week, we had to not even analyze only Chicks with Dex reports, but we had to analyze our ones because we are having some problems facing like some Luna Lights on match before against Clock Clan. So basically, he's analyzing both reports.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good way to look at it, because you not only want to study your opponent, disregarding the fact that there was a shift in the meta, but also study your own lineups and perhaps mistakes in the lineups if need be. And as you said with Luna Lights, they did bring quite a few Luna Lights. So you can see the one at the beginning, perhaps countered by Urushihara with Ritual Beast, and later on a lot more Luna Lights with the repeat as well. And maybe another question that I have is about this Ritual Beast, maybe perhaps for Urushihara himself. What do you think about Ritual Beast's place right now in the meta, post-ban list, post-New World?
Essa é para você, Urashihara. O que você acha de RB? Considerando com essa nova banlist aí, esse meta novo, o que você acha de RB? Já que você trouxe esse deck aí para essa semana que passou.
Bem, eu acredito que é um deck ok, mostrando o meta atual. E eu levei ele mais por conta que eu tava me preparando para alguns decks estranhos, mas eu não esperei um Gaia de início. Aí, o Luna Light eu já tava pronto, por conta das traps que eu tava rodando. Deu pra ver até na stream, se eu não me engano. E também eu tava me preparando também para aquele deck novo Melodiosa. Eu fiz uns testes de match e ganhei a maioria. Então, eu considerei levar o deck.
Okay. Basically is sorry. Basically it was because he was preparing himself for some weird matches. Like one example was Melodious for a counter pick, and because he wasn't expecting Gaia on the very first, but he was expecting some Lunas and preparing himself with Ritual Beasts against Melodious, and on the screens and testing he had very good results against Melodious.
Right, that's really interesting to hear, because a lot of the teams, from what I've seen, haven't perhaps taken Melodious much into account in week 6. Just a few teams have utilized Melodious to their full potential on this particular week. And well, in this match, maybe we didn't get to see much of Melodious, but we have gotten to see quite a bit of water XCs from your side. So that leads me into the meta-analysis, which is up on the screen. You guys have used water XCs in your match. Maybe this question would be for Diadema, because he did play in this match with water and also managed to close it out 3-1 to win the match. What do you think about water XCs, and what do you think are some good matchups for it?
Diadema, essa para você, já que você usou água na partida e até teve um resultado bom, 3-1. O que você acha do deck de água? E o que você acha assim, que é alguma matchup boa, assim, tanto matchup boa quanto matchup nada favorável, counter, essas coisas? O que você acha de água?
Certo. Para começar a partida, uma incógnita era o Melodiosas. Luna era certeza que a gente ia tomar, principalmente pelos resultados da semana anterior. Então, a gente jogou em volta de Luna. E meu terror é Luna e Melodiosas, mas assim, graças a Deus não pegamos Melodiosas. Porém, não sei quem acompanhou a partida, mas tomamos muito Yugi. Então ficava aquela expectativa, será que é Luna? Será que é Gaia? Será que é Thunder? FK? Então, as matches favoráveis para Water, FK. Talvez uma matchup equilibrada seria Thunder. Arpia também, por conta do Dueler Construção. E principalmente Luna, isso daí é o terror. É um deck que, como não rodou na banlist, não teve nada de modificação, nada na ban, então a gente era nosso counter direto.
He said he was more like afraid of Lunas or even Melodious, but thank Lord he didn't face this one. He considers what is a good deck, kinda okay to face. And for favorable matchups is kinda Fire Kings. Some balanced he consider Thunder Dragons. And I believe it's this. Just let me double check. Você falou também do. Você falou do Luna, que tava um pouco de medo. Tá Melodiosa também, e não pegou. Você também falou de.
Blue Eyes é favorável.
Dos favoráveis do Water, que é o Rei do Fogo, e que mais?
Blue Eyes. E RP é equilibrado também.
Okay. And he also mentioned Blue Eyes as a balanced matchup. And I mean, Harp is balanced and favorable Blue Eyes.
That sounds about right with Water. Very interesting to hear that. And we can also move towards the next segment, which is the division. So it's probably safe to assume that within a division that contains teams such as BZ, Rookies, Sun Clan, perhaps even Claw Clan, Uchihas may not have looked like favorites in the first few glances. But you guys proved everyone wrong with a 5-1 record, and I believe the only loss was to Claw Clan, if I'm not mistaken. And you guys have also yet to face Sun Clan, which is still top 4-2. And I'm curious to see, to hear some of your thoughts with your place within the division, number 1. Did you consider to be number 1 in this division? And as well some thoughts about the next matchup against Sun Clan.
Esse aí vai para qualquer um dos dois. Bom, já que agora falando a respeito da divisão, na mesma divisão vocês têm a BZ, Hulk, Sun Clan. Vocês estão liderando a divisão. E nos primeiros momentos ali, vocês não eram tão vistos como favoritos. E hoje vocês lideram. Como é que vocês veem isso daí? E como também vocês veem a questão assim, da próxima partida, que vai ser a Sun Clan. Como é que vocês veem isso? Qualquer um dos dois.
Bem, a parte da season passada eu vou deixar pro Diadema, porque eu entrei no time só nessa última season. E por conta da matchup contra a Sun Clan, eu tô esperando bastante coisa, sabe? Tipo, eu tô bem feliz de estar enfrentando eles. Espero que seja uma matchup bem ok, uma matchup equilibrada e que venham uns decks muito da hora.
Well, about the last season, he'll leave with Diadema to talk about, because he joined the season. He joined Timor's this season. He joined Uchihas this season, so he's gonna pass for Diadema answer. But about the Sun Clan, he's kind of anxious. He's kind of looking forward to face, and most like he likes to face them. I believe it's a nice team. Now goes to Diadema. Vai, Diadema.
Então, a season passada, por ser a nossa primeira vez, eu acredito que fomos bem. Tiveram alguns erros individuais aí que dificultaram a nossa classificação para as playoffs, mas assim, fizemos algumas alterações, entraram ótimos membros como urushihara, Ghost, Good Loser, entre outros, então fortalecemos e tá num grupo forte como esse, BZ, Rock, Sun Clan e entre outros, é gratificante nesse momento estar em primeiro, mas é manter a sequência e focar. Sun Clan tá aí, então vamos treinar essa semana para conseguir um bom resultado.
And Diadema said about the last season, he considered an okay because it was the first time playing Team Wars format. And for this season, they made some changes, adding some new players, despite last season having some difficulties for qualifying for the playoffs, but he still considers a good participation. And for this season, they had some new players. They improved the like I said, they found some new players, improved like Good Loser, Ghost, and even Urushihara. And he's kinda like Urushihara said, he's kinda anxious for playing against Sun Clan and started training to face them, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear that. Obviously, the previous season was the first season of Uchihas, and 5 to 5 is not the worst performance. It's actually very good. And to turn it around, even after losing players such as Insert, who was very good in the previous season, and getting new talent with Urushihara, for example, which completely has proven why he is the player of the month, which we will be seeing in a minute. It revitalized the whole team, and well, thanks to these kinds of performances and that little improvement within the team's inner workings, you guys are able to continue being towards the top. And we can take a look at the power rankings, for example, before we take a look at the player of the month graphic and a few words from the interviewees. Well, we do have Urushihara sitting at the top, 3.67 wins per match, 22 games won, playing every week, and has certainly been the stone for Uchihas. And due to that, especially within the first 4 weeks, Urushihara was awarded Player of the Month. So let's read this message. Uchihas, coming into Season 10, looked to rejuvenate their team with some new additions. One of them was Urushihara. He has safely gotten 3 wins each time he has been sent in, no matter what type of team he was up against. Couple that with an astonishing 4.50 wins per match, the 18-7 record is no joke and gave Uchihas the number 1 spot in a top division. And well, it is no joke. Having went 7-1, I believe, against Garuda as the counter pick, and striking on every single game he has been put on thus far in the first 4 weeks. Urushihara, I have a question. How does it feel to be this impactful of a player?
Uchihara, eu quero saber como é que é ser esse jogador impactante, já que você conseguiu aí ser premiado como o jogador do mês da Team Wars. Como é que é essa sensação?
Cara, eu tô realmente muito feliz de conseguir ter esse resultado logo na primeira season que eu joguei. Então, eu espero muito que eu consiga melhorar mais esse resultado. Tipo, eu quero garantir também o Rookie of the Season, de preferência. E bola pra frente, velho. Começar a treinar mais ainda pra manter o resultado.
Well, the feeling is kinda amazing. I'm grateful for being awarded. This is especially for being my first season playing Team Wars. I'm glad for being this. And I even expect to become the rookie of the season. I'm working on it. But let's keep moving, training, playing, trying to win, and make the best for worth this.
Very glad to hear that. In Uchihas, we do have that kind of mentality where it's always something better to look towards and always finding a reason to become better. And Urushihara certainly can get on that path towards Rookie of the Season. First season, first weeks, and Player of the Month already. I'm expecting a lot of great things coming into the future. And with that, we can maybe just close it out for now. Any last words that any of you guys have?
Alguma última palavra de vocês aí? Vocês querem falar alguma coisa, deixar alguma mensagem, um salve para poder encerrar?
Eu gostaria de deixar um salve. Ah, perdão, pode falar, mano.
Pode falar primeiro.
Então, mandar um salve aí pro clã. Eu sou um membro bem antigo, de 4, 5 anos de clã, então mandar um salve pro pessoal aí, pro Leandro Urushihara, pro Andrei, pro Italiano e uma mensagem pra Konami, viu? Pra banir aquela fusão da Luna lá, aquela boss lá, que é meio chato pra lidar. Mas é isso, obrigado pela atenção de vocês, é isso.
Você tá falando da Cavalona, né?
É, da Cavalona.
Tá bom. I want to shout out my clan, the Uchihas, because I'm with them since like 4 or 5 years with them. I want to shout out everyone, and I have a message to Konami. Please ban the Luna Light Fusion, the Saber Dancer, because it's too much nonsense.
Definitely.
Urushihara.
É quase a mesma mensagem, mas eu quero mandar um salve também pro pessoal dos meus clãs antigos, sabe? Dark Lords, Warriors of Evil e também o próprio pessoal do time. Sou um novato, mas salve aí pra todo mundo.
Okay. I also want to shout out my current clan, especially like Leandro Uchiha, Italiano, all the members, and also I want to shout out my former clans like Dark Lords, Warriors of Evil, and lots of others. And the message for Konami is the same: ban Luna Light Fusion.
Yeah, that was a good moment there with the Luna Light Fusion. I also want Konami to ban these cheesy strategies, but that's a topic for another day. Thank you for coming in for this interview, and I expect us to meet again, perhaps in the future, because we do have you as a 5-1 record, and while doing this closing, we will be seeing into the next interview. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Sensei part of this Team Wars Talks. I'm joined here today by none other than the coach of Sensei, which is GaOV. Say hello.
Hello, I am GaOV as Sensei.
And we will be talking a little more in depth about what went during week 6 and a little more insight about that. So to start off, we have the match report right here up on the screen. Week 6 match up against Toon Squad. So we can take a look. It was a close win, 10-8 against a team who is slowly but surely proving itself to be quite the force to be reckoned with, and not an opponent to be underestimated. So my question would be, how did you prepare for Toon Squad for this week?
We have defeated them last season, but they are doing well this season, so we really prepared hard. And it was our first match after a new ban list, so it was hard to make a new lineup. And I thought Harpy was the tier 1 deck, so we concentrated on to counter and use the Harpy effectively.
Alright, sounds pretty good. There's some good insight on Harpies obviously being not just the deck to run, but also the deck to counter within this week 6 meta that we had there, because maybe as you were thinking, not every stuff is figured out on this particular week. For example, I believe Yeah, none of the teams have brought Melodious, for example. And I'm not sure if you guys experimented much with it, be it before uh, week 6 or before week 7, so on this week. But I'm sure we can see some more representation very soon from that. As for another question about the match report, so your guys' lineup was actually pretty varied there. I can see Thunder Dragon, I can obviously see the Harpies, Water, Luna Lights towards the end. Talk me a bit about how you think Thunder Dragon's place right now is currently.
To be honest, I practiced Thunder Dragon a lot, but I couldn't find the best recipe, so I have given up the Thunder Dragon.
Ooh, that's sad to hear for such a deck that has been in the metagame for such a long time. Maybe the nerf was the final one. Do you agree?
It was really hard to play Thunder Dragon.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, it's way too hard now to have a consistently good opener. We could say as that being one of the problems. We can also see that within this match report, it did go a bit quite the distance, 10-8, and my turn came out at the end with Lunalight and managed to successfully close it out against two decks that Lunalight does have the advantage. How come it did get so close towards the end?
I think we prepared the pairs of decks very well, but did not work twice as a counter deck, which was Piyama's Fire King and my Harpy Lady versus Lunarite and Triamid. Our counter deck didn't work well, so we had to use repeat, and I think that's the reason why the score was so close, 10-8.
Right, yeah, 10-8, and they did manage to get 2 repeats out of you quite early within the match. Tiras obviously doing his job as a starter, going 2-2. Piyama being the first counter being sent in to counter their Lunalight deck, and because it didn't counter within the first game, well, something had to happen and the repeat was needed, and thankfully the next deck was also Water, which Piyama managed to win against, and obviously by the point of Triamid, you had to come in, and sadly, well, another repeat had to be used, so was quite the back and forth, you can say.
And we prepared Water Axis to counter the 30 cards Harpy, since we lost to Sun Clan last season. Minato made 7-0 versus us. It was a really horrible memory to us. And as I remember, the Kizuki Reborn made a good record with 30 card Harpies last week. And I thought it would happen to us again. So we prepared Water Axis as the counter for 30 card Harpy.
Yeah, it's always good to have as many decks in the back still left for a specific matchup that you feel like you are not very confident with. As you mentioned, that one streak with 30 card Harpies is a bad memory, is a bad sight to see, and hopefully this time around things would be changing, and obviously you prepared very well for this week. Maybe things didn't go your way with as far as the repeat part, but it's more than enough, at least that you managed to get this win, no matter the RD. Alright, we can now move on to the meta analysis perhaps. So we have it right here on the screen. Harpies, obviously the best deck pretty much all around, and I can only see somewhat 2 bad matchups. In the red, we have the Lunalight and the Melodious. I don't know, GaOV, what do you say about this meta-analysis?
I think many teams couldn't prepare for counter the Harpy Lady. So Harpy Lady is obviously the tier 1 deck, but many teams have failed to counter them effectively. So the Harpy got the highest win rate.
Right, yeah. It does have the highest win rate as well as the highest representation by more than double. So a lot of teams brought a lot of Harpies, be it the 20 cards or lower card build, or even the higher card build that got phased out of the meta due to Onomat always decaying. Well, because that is no longer present or a problem, the slower 30 card, more grindy variant can shine, perhaps. And yeah, it's interesting to see how the meta will develop in week 7, because week 6, one could say, was a test run for what kind of decks could be good going forward in week 7, 8, 9, 10. A lot of experimentation is still going on. A lot of teams are still figuring out which is the best answer to which, and obviously we will just have to wait and see. We can move on this way, if you agree, to the division. So we have it up on the screen right now. Sensei, number 1 within the division. I believe the last time we had you guys on the show from the Sensei side, you also were number 1, I believe, still undefeated at that point with Alacorn. Sensei still number 1, 5-1 record, 7 RD, that's decent. A lot of close wins, one could say, even evidenced by that Toon Squad win earlier, 10-8. Your next opponent is Switcheroo, the next best opponent currently within the division. Tell me a bit about them, or about the preparation process for this week.
To be honest, I'm a fan of Switcheroo, and I love their players. They are strongest players on the earth right now. So
I can agree to that.
Yeah, it's really hard to prepare the match since they are too strong.
Yeah, for example, we have seen, I believe for the first time within Team War's history, the one team that has had awarded 3 players of the week consecutively. Switcheroo has been that. Let me just remind to everyone that within week 3, ACT went 7-2 against Inti-san, who is currently number 3 within the division and thus awarded Player of the Week. Shuhai went 6-2 up against Last Killer the following week and also got awarded Player of the Week. And lastly but not least, in the previous week, week 5, King Halo went 10-1 against Shadow Gameslang. So GaOV's concern of them being very good players is extremely real, and it's going to be a very exciting matchup to see unfold. And we're really curious to see what Sensei will be bringing to the table. Perhaps for the last part within the interview, we also have some power rankings to look at. It is GaOV's teammate, My Turn. Tell us a bit about your teammate, because he has been proving himself recently, only gathering 6 losses within these 5 matches.
The strong point of My Turn is he can do various kinds of decks, and we usually expect My Turn to play the counter pick, so he usually finishes the war, so he does not lose it. He does not lose the match for many times. He has made some huge mistakes for last week's, like Forbidden Chalice.
Yeah, we can all remember that if we have watched the the highlights of that week.
Yeah, but he always do his best to be stronger, so he's a really good player.
Definitely, yes, he's a very good player. That is why he is on a power ranking, and I'm excited to see if he brings anything more, especially in the last match of the regular round robin part of the season. If you have anything more to say, perhaps either about your teammate or perhaps moving on to some closing words, some shoutouts, some parting words, this will be the best moment for you to do so.
I feel really grateful to my turn since he can do every deck I require. So, and also I feel grateful to Archon since I was out of Timor for 2 weeks due to my schoolwork, and he did my role for 2 weeks, and he had a really hard time during that period. We recruited some new Japanese players for this season, and they are doing really great jobs. Nanao, Piyama, and Hobai. So, but I feel really grateful to all of our players.
Yeah, congratulations to them, and as well congratulations to the rest of Sensei as a team. You guys achieved a very good result up until this point, 5-1. And although you are yet to face maybe what is considered the strongest opponent within the division, I'm sure you guys think of yourselves just as strong of an opponent for them to take you with.
Thanks, Hazy.
Alright, so that would be it for this segment. Thank you so much, Gal, for coming in, and hopefully you had a good one. And we're gonna see you in the next one. Hello guys, welcome to the busy part of the Timor Talk Show. I have here alongside me Sakura. Say hello.
Yo, what's up guys? I'm Sakura from BG.
And yeah, he is the team owner of BZ, so I'm sure we can see a lot of insight from what happened during this previous week of Timor's Week 6. So, without wasting more time, let's get straight into it. We have the match report up on the screen right now. And BZ fought quite a formidable opponent in the last week. I believe you guys were 3-2 while SunClan was 4-1. So statistically speaking, a better record. However, towards the latter portion of this match, you guys have been ended up emerging victorious. Tell me a bit on how you prepared for this match and maybe what you expected out of them, and maybe some insight about your lineup as well.
Okay, so before this work, our recover 3-2, which is kinda dangerous for us, because we can only lose 4 matches this season. And some can obviously are very good teams. They were 4-1 before the match, and there's a lot of good players like Yasa and so on. That was the first match after the new ban list, so we didn't have much time to test everything. But we know Harpies, Blue Eyes, and maybe Water might be the best deck after the ban list. And from the new box, we found the Melodious has a lot of good matchup, like against the Blue Eyes, Water, and Lunar Eyes. And from the previous match report, we can see they have a player that 100% bring the Fire King. So Melodious also a good matchup against them.
All right, sounds really good with how you guys started for this week. As you said, they had a couple of good players in the back with probably some decks you expected, and Melodious fortunately was there to take care, for example, of Blue Eyes towards the latter end of the war, Water as well as Fire King. So it's certainly something that Doctor was just meant to strike with towards the end, after you obviously took down most of the troubles with Harpies and the Gaia pair. And I have another question actually in regards to this match report. So we can see 1000 being the starter for you guys with Blue Eyes and Thunder Dragon with charge. How do you think Thunder Dragon is going to fare into this post week 6 meta?
I think the style of the Thunder Dragon is very diverse in this meta, because I can see many players choose like play very aggressive with the charge build, and the other parts of player still play Batteryman for the control build, like with many handshake. I think both build can handle the different situations. So I still believe Thunder Dragon is a really top tier deck in this meta.
Alright, that sounds pretty good. Well, as you mentioned, it has quite a couple of ways to go about building it, but charge does offer you that big explosiveness, so to say, where you can just mill everything and perhaps try to win on the spot. Probably didn't go very well thanks to Yasser's pair of decks being probably more suitable towards beating the Thunder Dragon, but I'm sure we can expect some more success coming into week 7 from you with this deck. And speaking of success, well, we will be having the meta-analysis up on the screen. Yeah, Thunder Dragon has been in the red for this week, but who's to say it's not gonna be on green for the next week? Anything that seems interesting from this meta-analysis from you, Sakura?
I think the highest win rate deck is Melodious, but maybe that's just due to many players didn't know how to play against them. I think the overall win rate for the Melodious should be a bit lower next week, and Water expected with 45% win rate. That's really I think it's very normal for me, because I never feel like this deck is good.
Definitely, yeah. Melodious does have that new deck advantage where not many people know what to do exactly against it, and especially in an environment like Team Wars where you don't get to have a second chance when you see a deck like this. And as we have seen with SunClan, they firstly saw it on Luca, and there even was a repeat involved, but as soon as Doctor came in and they didn't have more answers to it, they just got steamrolled. And perhaps Water as well, from the other side of the coin, is a highly opening hand reliant deck, and compared to most of these decks from this meta-analysis, those aren't as much, right? Like, you can make do with Harpies, Gaia, even Thunder Dragon. Blue Eyes maybe slightly comparable, but more so from the side of breaking rather than completely not being able to do power plays. But Water certainly can have a spot, I guess, within the meta, considering it does counter stuff like Blue Eyes, perhaps Fire King. I don't know. What do you think Water Xyz is countering currently?
Let me see. It's kind of hard to find a good matchup for them. But I think for the Fire King, which is not very much people use it, but even for their best matchup, Fire King, they can still lose.
Right, yeah. I suppose one of their better matchups could be against Blue Eyes, and 2 and 3.
Against Blue Eyes, I think maybe similar to Fire King matchup. I was not surprised if they lose to Blue Eyes or Fire King. You have better choice to counter those decks.
Right, yeah. Well, we can only wait and see what Water can do next week. Perhaps I'm thinking it's going to be just as played, but probably it's going to see a little less success. Not quite sure. Alright, we can now move on to the next, which is the division topic. Currently, you guys are 4-2 within a very highly contested division, and out of every team that could have been at the top, Uchihas are at the top, even with a win above the rest of the top 4 of BZ Rookies and SunClan. You guys will be facing Chicks with decks, and currently they are sitting towards the bottom part of the division. However, they do have quite good RD, so most of their matches have been kind of close despite the record's indication. So I'm curious to see maybe just a little more about the insight on how you guys are intending to prepare for this week.
Like every week when we prepare for the world, we don't really care who is our opponent. We just try to do our best because our aim is always to win every single game. And even they are not in a good spot, but I believe they are still trying hard, so we should respect all the opponents.
Definitely, yeah. Even if they are out of playoffs contention thanks to the X5 record, still they can be a fearful opponent because they can take down teams that are still in that playoffs contention, and you guys are one of them. 4-2, surely on the way to try to become the best within the Goblin Circus division. I believe you guys have lost to Uchihas and who else?
I think we also lost to Rookies, yeah.
Alright, yeah, so certainly losses that, I mean, you guys are pretty much in equal power level, so probably could have went either way. And I wish you only good luck for this next week. One last question, maybe in regards to the Arc 5 New World. So I'm assuming you guys did obviously a lot of testing with Melodious, considering you were the first team within week 6 to bring Melodious and have quite the success with it, going 4-2 total, separated in 3 decks with 1 deck going 4-0. But what can you tell me about other high potential decks coming out of this new world?
I think for the new world, we get 3 new decks like Lucenzo, Melodious, and some Pendulum two-book deck. I think the Melodious is very always one of the best deck on the new world. But I feel like Lucenzo also has potential, but it's just kinda not consistent. And for the other actual Pendulum decks, I just don't see how they can work right now. I think they still need a lot of support from the future.
Right, I definitely agree with you on that pendulum remark. Obviously, with Harpies still being towards the top, it's going to be very hard for them to succeed. And as for Yosinju, well, yeah, beforehand, we rarely saw maybe a one-off Yosinju within the lineup. I believe most notably in last season's playoffs was brought up alongside the Onomat. And well, today it has a new way to build this deck with the pendulums, and we're just gonna have to wait and see how this is going to perform on a better level, because so far it has seen a bit of usage, but not to a full extent or to a good extent. So perhaps if you have any last shoutouts before we close the interview, or special mentions, something to close out.
Yeah, of course, I need to thanks to all my teammates, thanks for their efforts, and also thanks to teamwork management like the Rift team, String team. There's a very amazing league.
Alright, thank you so much for the kind words, and was a high pleasure to have you here with us, and hopefully we're going to see each other for another time. So stay tuned guys for the next interview, and see you around.